Good morning, house guests, and welcome back to Haunted House Calls. Today we'll be focusing on hauntings. We'll go over the meaning and possible reasons why we are experiencing hauntings, and then I'll give you a little bit of a personal story. So, haunting, the definition is a beautiful but in a sad way, and often in a way that can not be forgotten. For example, a haunting melody or the haunting beauty of Africa. So some people believe hauntings occur because the spirit itself has some unfinished business, or that they passed away and they're unable to pass on after a violent unliving. Also, some people believe that there's residual energy left by the people who experience intense emotions that are going through a traumatic event. So the example I'm going to give you is No Yo Harbor, which is spelled N as in Nancy, O-Y-O, in Fort Bragg, California. So the backstory to this inn is it was built in the 1960s, and there was a couple who were on their honeymoon and they were killed in a car accident near the hotel. The groom was heard calling for help, and the bride was dressed in red, and she can be seen pacing the lodge. Other experiences that No Yo Harbor has experienced, at least according to Google and the internet, is ghostly voices, laughing, and lights turning off and on. This isn't an experience, the laughing and the voices isn't an experience that I've experienced. I have stayed at the No Yo Hotel for one night. It's a beautiful hotel. It's got a great restaurant, but this is the story. So it's going to be a little bit long, and you guys know that I ramble. So we went to this hotel specifically for the purpose of trying to experience a haunting or paranormal activity. I brought extra laptops and some other little recording devices just to see if I could pick up on voices or anything like that. I never did, but here's the story. So on check-in, my friend immediately asks for the room that is haunted, and the desk clerk is kind of joking around and saying, "Oh, it's not really haunted, blah, blah, blah. It's so funny." And then when she hands us the key, she kind of whispers to us, "This is the room." So we take this key, we go upstairs, and mind you, this building was built in 1860s and it has not been updated with like electronic key cards. This is an actual key. So when I put the key into the lock, it just spun around and around and around and around. Either way, either to the left or to the right, and it would not catch on a lock or anything to unlock the door. So I had to go back down and say, "Hey, my key isn't working. It's just spinning." They send me back up after they chuckle and laugh and say, "It's starting." So I get sent back upstairs to retry my broken key in this broken lock, right? According to my mind. And it finally catches. So we go into this beautiful room. There's a fireplace. There's, a TV on the wall. It's beautiful. So we don't really experience anything at that point. We go through our day. Our night is just uneventful. We're not getting the creepy heebie-jeebies. So we decided to go for a walk in the middle of the night. It was around midnight-ish. And what I noticed is that when we were coming down the stairs, and of course everything is empty, but when we go down the stairs, there was this poof or bloom or a perfume cloud. It smelled like sweet lavender, like this very calm, very nice smelling, flowery smell. And I just figured that there were like air fresheners, like above, like maybe just spraying intermittently to keep, everything smelling fresh. So we go outside, right? And still there's nothing, but it's beautiful. The midnight fog and the moon, it was gorgeous. So we go back to our room, and on the way back up the stairs, I noticed that there was no air freshener dispenser or nothing that could, give off a scent intermittently or really at any time. There wasn't a device, a machine, or nothing. So I was like, that's weird. And then I didn't smell it again. And I was like, that's really weird. So again, we sleep, uneventful night, right? I wake up a little bit in the morning. I'm unsure of what time it is. I think it's around like 6 or 7. And the person who was with me was on the other side of the bed, and it was a queen size. So we just shared the bed and stuck to our own sides. She gets out of the bed, and I thought, was looking at her phone. I only say I thought because my back was to her, but I know that she got out of the bed. Or at least I think she got out of the bed. She may have been in it. But out of the blue, she exclaims, "Oh, F you." And she's up, she's startled, and I'm like, oh, maybe she had a fight with her husband. Maybe there's something going on with her husband and they got in a fight, and now she's exclaiming about it. And I'm like, what's wrong? And she said, something touched me. And I'm like, what? She's like, there was a hand that touched my bottom. It wasn't, she described it for her. She showed me how the sensation that she felt. It was, she says she describes a hand and feeling fingers on her posterior, and then it slid off, but the fingers she could feel were freezing cold. So she's all excited, and she runs, basically just doesn't really run out of the room, but it was like, I'm going to go downstairs and smoke a couple of cigarettes and kind of get over this creepy experience. So she leaves, and I'm like, oh my God, she could at least turn on like Disney Channel or something, because now I'm in this room with this ghost who's doing whatever, right? So she comes back up. Everything is fine. There's no change in temperature or anything like that. So we just have breakfast, and then, we pack up, or we get ready to pack up, and we still had a couple hours left. And I had brought up some Halloween sewing kits that I was doing for a Halloween party. So I started sewing just to pass the time, and because I had 20 aprons to make for this party at Halloween that was coming up in about a couple of weeks. So I'm sewing, but I'm standing at the bed and sewing, and I hand sew. So I'm standing and I'm facing the bed, and I'm looking at my stitches, and I'm sewing. And mind you, my hair is wet. So remember that. I feel a tug. And then I kind of just look behind me. There's nobody there. Okay. And then I feel another tug. I look around. There's nobody there. Mind you, there's another person in here, right? So I'm not trying to look like a crazy person. I'm just like, okay. And then the third time, it wasn't a tug. It was an actual, I felt a hand slip down my back. And I wasn't so freaked out. All I did was like, okay, I think it's time that we check out early. And so we did, because I was more freaked out than I realized. And that was the end of our Noyo Harbor experience. I've never been touched or experienced anything like that. It was quite interesting, and that experience differs from another, I'm going to say, haunting that I experienced. So I believe I was 19 years old, and it was in upstate New York. And I was visiting a family member, and they always kept their house at a consistent 78 degrees inside or outside. The thermostat was stuck on that number. And it was also summer. So I'm in upstate New York. I'm sitting at the table reading a tabloid. It's evening. It's about 7 or 8. I'm the only one that's up. And I get the sensation that someone is looking at me or staring at me. And then I got cold. The entire room got cold to the point where you could see your breath. That's how cold it was. You were shivering, and you could literally see your breath in the middle of summer with a thermostat set at 78. Crazy, no joke, crazy experience. But then it continues. So I took in a deep breath, and then I breathed out my breath, and I could see it, right? I almost expected it to turn into ice crystals. That's how extremely cold it was. And I see movement out of the corner of my eye, and I turn and I look at where the garden room is, or the sun-in room. It's an enclosed patio. And I see a male. He's elderly. He's tall. And he kind of leans forward a little bit. But he was glowing, and you could see through him. And I don't know how to describe it. It's this glowing, clear, white person. You could see the colors of their jeans and their tops and facial features and everything. But it was if you were shining a light over it, they were just glowing. And they were walking. And it was so smooth. Almost gliding. And this, I'm going to call it a ghost, because we're talking about hauntings. This spirit walked across from the sun room all the way to the door of the basement, and he actually went through the basement door. And when he did that, the room, when he disappeared into the door, the room went back to its normal temperature, and I could no longer see my breath. Well, of course, I am terrified. I was so terrified. I'm a freezer. Let's just get out of the way. I will freeze if I'm scared. And that's what happened. Totally frozen in fear. Couldn't talk. Couldn't move. Just terrified watching this thing. So I described the incident to the person I was with at the time, and they became very emotional, and they had said that it sounded like that was their grandfather, and that they always loved the sunroom and the basement. And you could commonly, when this person was alive, he'd commonly go from the sunroom to the basement. And so I'm kind of thinking that maybe that's just residual energy in that example, along with the Noyo Harbor example. Both examples are quite terrifying. But that is an example of a haunting. Please subscribe, comment, share, let me know what else you want to hear about in this podcast, where we talk about everything paranormal and some of my experiences. Again, like, subscribe, comment, and thank you for listening. I'll see you on the other side. Have a spooky day, house guests.